We often think that consent stems from a verbal or written agreement between two or more parties. But once it gets to the manifested realm of effects, where it is spoken or written, the agreement was already well in place before the terms were finalized. In actuality, though, agreements occur in the realms of causality, and it results from a signal that is broadcast from our state of being, and how it relates to our desires, and the questions that motivate our desires. There are two forms of agreements in the realms of causality, where there are the low vibrating desires that result from Karpman's drama triangle of victim, villain, and hero, which stems from a negative focus, or there are the higher vibrating desires where we set intent to create a certain type of experience by focusing on our desires which were born from the negative experiences, and this is what's called as a positive focus. So for example, when somebody has a negative focus and they're looking at the things that they do not want, they're going to start calling for ways to avoid what they do not want. But what they're really going to create is more of what they actually do not want. So because their focus is on what they do not want, they will create and generate more of what they do not want. So if they're a victim, they're going to be asking the question, how can I not be victimized? And what are they going to get? Precisely more victimization. So in this way, somebody who is vibrating at either the hero vibration in the Karpman's drama triangle, or from the villain vibration in Karpman's drama triangle, will be attracted to the victim to either save them or perpetrate against them. And this is where the agreement actually occurs. The agreement happens where somebody sends out their vibration saying, hey, I'm a vibrational match for this. I am a victim. Victimize me or save me. I mean, you might get some heroes to save you, but you're not going to get heroes all the time. You're going to get some villains that come in as well, and you're going to get re-victimized. So this is where the agreement actually happens. So when you look at like things like consensual sex, this can be a very high vibrating thing, or it can be a very low vibrating thing. Relationships, they're the same thing. It can be really high vibrating or low vibrating. Low vibrating, it's going to be the drama triangle of victim, villain, and hero. High vibrating is going to be, hey, I have this desire. I set intent for my desire. I'm focusing on my desire. My desire has nothing to do with being a victim, villain, or hero. I don't want to be saved. I mean, because somebody can want to have sex to be saved from their problems. I feel horrible. I feel lonely. I want sex. I want wild experiences. I want joy. I don't feel good about myself. And then what are they going to do? They're going to attract people into their life that are less than beneficial. So that's what's really going on. So, hey, I'm a victim. Therefore, because I'm a victim, I'm agreeing to experiences with villains and heroes. That's where the agreement happens. So if somebody actually has a very negative sexual experience as a result of this, or a negative relationship, it's because their focus was on the negative and they consented to that negative experience through their negative focus. Now, if you are actually focusing on something positive, sex can also be something positive, or a relationship can be positive, but it's like, hey, I'm ready. I really desire this thing. For me, before I met Aline, I really desired a certain type of relationship where I could process emotions and talk about my deepest desires and go into the shadow and basically lay myself bare. But this was my desire, not something that I was trying to get away from my loneliness, but there was definitely a deep, heartfelt desire at a very high level for being met. I want to be met. I want this. I am ready for this. And what happened? I attracted Aline into my experience. That was the law of attraction. I then got somebody that was very high vibrating that would match me and meet me at that same vibrational frequency. That was where the consent happened. I had the desire and I attracted that experience to me. And somebody came in, Aline came in with that vibrational match, and that is where our consent happened at the level of vibration. I mean, if you are vibrating at these villain, hero, or victim, you will get trapped. Heroes often also are getting suckered and they become the victim. So they want to save a victim. And what ends up happening is the victim is actually a villain in disguise. They're like, they're saying, hey, look at me. I'm a victim. Please save me. And then you get sucked into the story and then boom, they're now victimizing you because of that agreement. But the agreement happened at the level of, hey, I want to be a hero. I want to save people. What they're really saying is I want to save my own victim, but I don't know how to save my victim, so I'm going to save a bunch of other victims. But then when they see that victim that they want to save, they go to save them, and the victim is really a villain in disguise. And this happens all the time. It is actually very, very, very common. Even if the villain doesn't even realize that. They believe their own Kool-Aid. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid. They think they're actually a victim. But then they just start getting entitled and victimizing the hero. So this whole drama triangle in psychology, which is known as Karpman's drama triangle, victim, villain, and hero, is where consent happens. You have the beliefs, you have the questions. That is where the level of consent happens in these low vibration feelings. It's not when you write the agreement or you consent to it at all. I mean, you could say no all day long, but if your signal says, hey, I'm a victim, then you are a resonant match for the agreement for a villain to come in, no matter if you're saying no or yes. It doesn't matter. And also, this is the same with written agreements. You don't have to sign off for something to be in an agreement. When you get to the point of signing off on it, you are definitely a vibrational match for that experience well before you signed your name. The only thing that the signing does, or the verbal does, is it just verbalizes or it grounds that agreement. So if you sign off on something, you're grounding that agreement. But in all actuality, it was grounded before that in the sense that you are a villain or a victim or a hero, and then you are going to attract one of the other three back to you, and then you're going to play that game. So let's look at the actual positive focus one a little bit better so that you know how reality generation goes. We first think it, feel it, and then act upon it. But when we have the belief and we think about something, then we feel into it, we have this desire, and then we can create it based on that desire, and then we have the experience that matches what we just created. So for instance, we have a negative experience because negative experiences happen in low vibrating and high vibrating scenarios. Contrast is not necessarily a bad thing. It helps us to clarify what we want. But when we have a negative focus only on the contrast, we get stuck and then we keep recreating the contrast and we're trying to stay safe from the contrast. And all of our desires are literally about the contrast. Now, contrast, when we experience a negative experience, we go through something we do not want. We can take that and say, oh, well, what is it that we do want now? And it can't be just, oh, I want to be safe from the contrast. I want to be safe from the people showing me the contrast, or I want to fix the contrast. It can't be something like that, because if you want to fix the contrast, or you want to save yourself from the contrast, then what you're doing is you're back in this experience again in the negative focus, and you're going into the drama triangle, and you're giving consent to those experiences. What you rather need to do is you need to look at what you do want from the experience. So, okay, I had this negative experience, and now I'm going to see, oh, what was it that I do want? Let's say, for example, something happens where you get a bill in the mail, or something happens where you get a fine. You get fined for something. The government sends you something in the mail, and you don't like that. Like, well, what is it that I really do want? Well, is it that I just want money so that I can pay them? Or is it that I really want to be able to not worry about such things and have people try to lord themselves over me and find me? I want to look at what I do want. What I do want is to be a sovereign person. I want to be an autonomous person, somebody that is self-governing. I want to govern myself without outside interference. That is the desire that's born from it. So I can look at the old and try to fight it. Oh, this person, that was unfair that they did that. They shouldn't have fined me. They shouldn't have sent me that debt notice in the mail. And I'm going to fight the government and those evil people. Let me tell you, they're just bad. And you could fight them. Now you're consenting to lower level experiences. Or you could say, I want to be autonomous. I want to be self-governing. That is my desire. And then you can focus all of your energy on being self-governing and what that requires to be a self-governing, responsible individual. So that's the positive focus. Now you're going to start having experiences that agree with that positive focus, which is being a self-governing, autonomous person. So that's how we can create our experience in two very different ways, and how we consent to two very different kinds of things. But in both cases, when the self-governing comes in a higher vibrating way of operating, or if the debt collector or the police come in the lower version, and now you're in this drama triangle in the lower version, in both cases, things happened well before any kind of a verbal agreement. You now tell the police, I do not consent to this. You're like 2 weeks back on that. You're already sending out that signal for a very long time of wanting to fight them and being afraid of them and thinking that they were the problem. So that's a negative focus, and you're stuck with the consequences until you can take that experience and see it for what it is as contrast. Stop looking at it. Look at what you do want to create as a result from that contrasting experience, and then create that instead. And then you will consent to a very high vibrating thing. And then the people that come in, the circumstances that come in, they've already consented because they are now co-creators with you. They're like, oh, you're a creator. I'm a creator too. Let's co-create this experience with you. They don't have to consent either after the fact. It's, if I have a really high vibrating sexual experience with Aline, though that experiences and those experiences were created through the consent from choosing the positive focus. I created what I wanted at a high level. And then the people that best fit that desire for what I want come in to help fulfill that desire. So the positive focus creates more positive things. But the consent doesn't happen in the verbal. I don't have to ask her to consent to this really good sexual experience. I just have to desire it and let her come in to meet that need as a part of my creation. So in that way, there is no consent in the higher vibration in the realm of effects either. It's all done through our desire. Our desire can be very low vibrating, victim, villain, hero. It can be very high vibrating based on our positive focus. If you enjoyed this video, please click like.
If you'd like to stay up to date with our videos, please subscribe.
If you would like to be notified via email whenever we release a video, please click the bell next to subscribe.
If you have any comments or questions and would like to dialogue about this topic, please leave them below.
If you're interested in becoming a patron and having special access to our community, please visit our Patreon page linked below.
We're Nathan and Aline from the Divine Pollination Hive and the UnityProcess.com.
Be safe.
Be sovereign.
Be well.